Serious, is it an butthole move to refuse to ever forgive someone ever, no matter how remorseful they are? Why or why not? It's not a butthole move emo, but it depends on the situation. Like, if someone killed my family, I can't ever forgive them. It's really up to the individual and how they feel about different situations. I think forgiveness is often a gift we give ourselves. It frees us from carrying around anger or resentment. If someone is truly remorseful, they are asking you for permission to forgive themselves. Someone who isn't sorry for what they did won't care if you forgive them or not. That being said, you can forgive someone and then no longer have them in your life. In my opinion, this is often the healthiest option for toxic people. It rids you of their influence and also from poisoning yourself. You are not obliged to forgive the people who hurt you. Your only obligation is to move forward and heal. If that involves forgiveness, fine. If not, also fine. You have to look after yourself. Remorse isn't a magic eraser that makes what they've done go away. Remorseful, and, if someone stabbed me and cried about it afterwards saying they're sorry, am I just supposed to forget they stabbed me? What are they doing to show it? What are they doing to make sure it won't happen again? What are they doing to show they've learned from their mistakes and are trying to improve themselves? What have they done to prove they won't stab me again? I don't believe in giving someone forgiveness. I believe in someone earning it. If someone doesn't care enough to try, they never wanted it in the first place. They just wanted you to make them feel better. And frick that crap right there. A person's remorse over their own past actions do not carry obligation to others. It's fine and even good they have changed their behaviors, but again, those they have betrayed do not have any moral equivalency to forgive. Depends on what they did and on who you are. About the only time I'd call it an butthole move is if you forgive other people for doing the same crap, but hold a grudge against one person in particular. Even then, you have to decide on your own boundaries. I would say it is an butthole move if you don't forgive somebody for the exact same thing you do yourself. Depends what they did. If they accidentally stepped on your toe, then yeah, kinda butthole move. If they committed an atrocity against you, for example, assaulted you, then fair enough. I've been on both ends of not being forgiven and not forgiving someone. Life isn't a movie and not everything gets closure. I personally just want to move on from a lot of crap, and I don't offer forgiveness to people because I don't speak to them anymore and I don't care to pat them on the back and say all is forgiven. I've moved on. So should they. They might be a completely different person than they were when they did the things they did, but it doesn't mean they're a person I care to know. Knowing you've grown past it should be enough closure for you. Not everything is wrapped up with a neat little bow. Learn to find closure in yourself and recognize things you've done wrong and how you can grow past them. Don't put the onus on the other person to seal it shut for you. Number. My dad was a cop. Had a certificate for the fight against domestic violence hanging in the family room. The same room he threw my brother through a wall, beat the dogs, broke one of their noses, grabbed me by the back of the neck and shoved my face into the carpet, grinding it until he was satisfied I had been taught a lesson. There's other things he did. He knew better. I'm not letting him back into my life anytime soon. I don't want to be around that. I want to be happy and healthy, and I don't feel that way around him. If I forgive him, he is going to want to be in my life. My parents separated when I was 16. I'm now 33 and he has been out of half my life. I've done well without him. Forgiveness is not a right. My sister's ex kicked her and their child out of the car and left them on the side of a highway. His own year-old son literally left him on the side of the road. He had nothing to do with him for almost his whole life. My sister had to take him to court for child support, and numerous other similar tales. I taught my nephew to ride a bike, throw a ball, babysat him, change diapers, play hockey, etc, etc. I will forever hold contempt and disgust for that man in my heart and wouldn't pee in his face if his eyebrows were on fire. Number. You are never obligated to forgive someone, no matter how big or small the transgression was. Everyone has a different set of priorities in their values, and a line that cannot be uncrossed. When someone crosses that line, they can beg for forgiveness all they want, but they have no freaking right to demand forgiveness. or to expect forgiveness to be obligatory. If someone has done something that you truly consider unforgivable, then stick to your guns. Let them continue to be remorseful. That is their punishment. To add, if anyone is ever so remorseful that they threaten to kill themselves if you don't forgive them, then still hold your ground and tell them do it, then, and continue holding your ground. Those types that demand forgiveness only want it so they have free reign to frick you over again. They will likely not follow through with their threats, and even if they do, good riddance. It was their choice, not yours, and the world doesn't need more of those types. No, if they're pushing remorse on you, they're doing it for themselves because they want to feel better. They're pretty much trying to guilt trip you into forgiving them, which is crappy and manipulative. I always get downvotes whenever I say that's my approach, so maybe. But here are a couple things to remember. 1. It's your life. You can be in butthole if you want to. 2. Nobody else gets a vote. You say who gets forgiven, not me or anyone else. And finally, the whole let it go or it will kill you thing is balls. It's pseudo-intellectual deepity nonsense. You can live a perfectly fulfilling life without forgiving people. I'm not a forgiving person. I don't want to forgive anyone for anything. I don't think anyone deserves that. I'm not running for Jesus here, so I don't forgive people unless I want to. Everyone else can frick off and sit on a corkscrew. If that makes me in butthole, so be it. I'm allowed to be in butthole, and so are you. So I don't forgive people unless I want to. Everyone else can frick off and sit on a corkscrew. If that makes me in butthole, so be it. I'm allowed to be in butthole, and so are you. Sounds like a song to me. My mom beat me, smoked weed around me, forced me to watch horror movies, told me I'd never see my dad again, etc. So yeah, I'm not gonna forgive her and I see that as fine. I had a really bad bully in middle school and high school who psychologically tortured me just because I wouldn't go out with him. We were in 8th grade when this started. I wasn't allowed to date until 16. Thinking back on it, had there not been teachers watching our every move, he probably would have killed me if he had the chance. It's not a butthole move. A lot of people say that not forgiving just makes you bitter and angry, but I don't feel that way. I cut a lot of people out of my life at once after a really hard time that they caused, and my life has only gone uphill since then. I haven't forgiven them and I won't because it's very obvious that they are only detrimental to my life, so why forgive? It honestly depends. I'm currently asking myself the same thing because my ex-sister-in-law wants to play peacemaker now. I can't bring myself to forgive her because she 1. Bashed my family. We were nothing but nice and welcomed her with open arms. 2. Called my mom a B. 3. Lied about being pregnant so my brother would stay with her. This was the first pregnancy. 4. Tried to lie and say that my brother abused her, which is total BS. She wants to make peace and be friendly with us now, but I can't forgive her. I know this sounds horrible, but after what she said and did, I don't have a single ounce of respect for her and I honestly don't think I can bring myself to forgive her either. She left a horrendous taste in my mouth. No, it's not. If you're happy with not forgiving, it's okay. But, you're posting this and it looks like you're going through some thoughts, so maybe you should come together and talk. Forgiveness can be hard, but it will get a lot of bad things off your chest. Accepting the apology and forgiving are two different things. I think it depends on what it's for. If they never returned a pencil, yes, it's an butthole move not to forgive them. But if they killed a family member or pet, that's not really a sholish of a move. There is a person in my life who didn't treat me the way they should have at the time. To put it lightly, I don't want to say anything as dramatic as this person ruined my life, but they caused a significant amount of damage that I don't know if I'll ever be able to get over. I genuinely don't think I could forgive this person even if I wanted to. I don't think I'll ever stop feeling hurt and resentful. Is it possible to forgive someone while you continue to resent them for what they did? Well, and butthole move? No, I don't think so. Depending on the wrong done, it can be pretty pathetic and childish, but there are countless situations in which it's justified to hold a grudge. It really depends on the situation, but holding a grudge isn't a good feeling, and just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you have to allow them back into your life. I have not seen or spoken to my grandmother in 20 years, my only living grandparent for most of that time. I throw her letters away unopened, and I will not see her again while she lives. No one major incident, just a lot of minor things that I finally got tired of. It absolutely depends on the person and situation. If someone ate your leftovers, yeah, you'd be an butthole. If someone has intentionally used you, it's fine not to forgive them. As someone else pointed out, forgiveness can be freeing for you. That being said, even if you forgive, that doesn't mean the relationship has to go back to what it was before. You can forgive and still refuse to see the person. Sometimes remorse, or an apology, heck even change behavior isn't enough. Some things you can't repair, and I say this as the one who fricked up. If the main reason for not accepting an apology is because you like seeing the other person struggle with their guilt, then I'd say that is a dong move. If it's because you are genuinely still hurt and time hasn't resolved your disgust with the person, then by all means wait until you feel ready, which may be never in some situations. Nope. Here are some scenarios that spring to mind. Someone keeps beating and raping their spouse. Each time they are very remorseful, but they keep doing it. Someone commits genocide. They regret being caught but still think they did the right thing and hold racist views against the people they genocided. Basically, you can let go and move on with your life without forgiving. I think this obsession with forgiveness denies people the right to have a healthy fear or dislike of a bad person. No, it is not some things in life you can never forgive people for, and when that happens you must go your separate ways. The fact that you can't forgive them shows that they really hurt you and can even be a good learning experience for both people in the future. It depends on why. I will never forgive either of my parents for things that seriously impacted my life. But I know a guy who has held a grudge against my boyfriend for 10 years for asking for a cigarette when he didn't want to give one out. There are some times where you can release the anger and heal without giving forgiveness. Then there are times where you're just a butthole. Depends on what they did honestly, and is down to personal opinion. People can do things which are unforgivable. Forgiving them is your choice and benefits them. You don't need to forgive anything just because they really want you to. Remorse is not restoration. If I drop a jar, I may be sorry, but that sorrow will not unbreak the jar. That remorse will not gather again the contents of the jar now splattered across my kitchen floor. My grief will not change the fact that leaving it over a hot weekend to fester and grow rank for someone else to find and clean is what is known in bird culture as a dong move. Forgiveness is not restoration. Forgiving me for leaving glass and food all over the floor will not clean it up. Forgiving me for breaking the jar will not restore the jar or its contents. Forgiving me for just letting it sit will not improve the smell. And I dare say that even if I am forgiven, you will not regard me as being as desirable of a housemate as you may have last week. Relationships, likewise, are not restored merely by forgiving the blow that shattered them. It is necessary for restoration, but it is by no means sufficient. I may forgive the small shop that sold me spoiled mayonnaise and left me on the toilet for a week, but that does not mean that I will ever shop there again. Remorse is a good sign. My apology for breaking the jar may make you feel better about forgiving me, but it is impossible for you to owe me forgiveness. Let me say that again. It is impossible for you to owe me forgiveness. Forgiveness cannot be owed. It cannot be demanded. Forgiveness is the choice to forego perhaps justified anger for the sake of your own heart. That is why it is powerful. Not that it can be claimed, but that it shows something about the giver. If my daughter drops a jar and splatters food all over the kitchen, I might be angry, but forgiveness would come from the fact that my love is greater than my anger. It is that expression of love that brings restoration along with forgiveness. If the barista at Starbucks gets my name wrong, it is not love that overpowers anger, but apathy. We may not be better friends, but at least we are no worse strangers. Now, it is often the case that people ask for forgiveness when what they desire is, in truth, restoration. This is the case both for those who have merely erred, and for those who have malignly and systematically abused another. The former may do so out of genuine sorrow at damaging a friendship, and may be accommodated. The latter, often out of a desire to continue to abuse and exploit a victim, and they should not by any means be obliged. Those latter may be forgiven. in that one need not carry pain and anger unnecessarily, but they should not be restored to a state where they can cause further pain. You don't have to forgive them. The least you can do is to compromise an agreement where both of you can have a peace of mind. If that means no longer being friends with them and distancing yourself from them to have your peace of mind heal, then let it be known to them. It is better to be honest that you cannot forgive them, rather than rely on band-aid solutions. For example, trying to act as if everything is normal when it isn't, when you are still hurting and angry. If that means they can respect that request, then no, it isn't a move. It only means that you both acknowledge that some things cannot be lightly forgotten and forgiven just like that, but that you are willing to move on from it, even if it will hurt for a long while, or sometimes, not even. TLDR. 1. Look at the issue as you guys versus the issue. For example, miscommunication. 2. You aren't required to forgive each other. You aren't assholes for this. Just human. 3. Communicate your terms with them. Make them understand how and why it hurts so much. 4. If they can respect that they need to leave to provide the both of you peace of mind, then no, you're not just human. Depends on how dirty I did, I believe. If they ruined your life, nope. If it's pathetically small, no. As you move in between, it's up to you to decide. Being called an butthole for actively choosing to never forgive someone is in itself an borderline butthole move. People can feel however they please, but there has to be a categorized spot for stuff like this. No, I don't think it is. I believe the line of when someone becomes unforgivable is not all that far away. I've done some very unforgivable things to someone I really care about and think about everything I've done every hour since I realized what I did, and it took me over a year to figure out the right way to apologize for it. I only wanted to apologize for the sake of it and not for the sake of forgiveness or getting back together, but even so, just me talking to her was an offense to her, and that's totally understandable. Nobody is owed forgiveness, and sometimes it can't ever be earned either. That's just how wounds work, I guess. It is, but mainly because you're being an butthole to yourself. By making a blanket decision about how you have to feel, you are robbing future you of a legitimate range of emotions. BTW, you come across as someone who is angry about something, and at the same time afraid to lose that anger. If that's the case, just know that you can't stick up for yourself without the rage. It depends entirely on the situation, I think. If, say, a friend took a shirt or something without asking, it'd be kinda extreme to never forgive them for it, unless the shirt had mega significant meaning or something. If someone did something like murder your child or sibling or something, then it's not really an butthole move. Had a pretty crappy childhood. My mum gave me up to live with my dad when I was 5. My dad was an alcoholic who spent all his money on alcohol rather than put food on the table and would psychically attack me at times. I was constantly reminded that I was not wanted. One friend called me butters in school, as when he came to my house all that was in the fridge was butter. When I left home at 17 I was 6 feet and weighed under 6.5 stone. As a guy that is ridiculous skinny, my dad stopped drinking and got into a new relationship after I had left home and is a completely different person. However, I don't think I can ever truly forgive him or my mother. I'll remember going to bed every night knowing that I wasn't wanted or loved by anyone. My ex and mother of my child has advised I need counseling to get over these issues, but I see it as a sign of weakness. Unsure how people forgive so easily, unless it's just words and deep down they don't really forgive. No way. There are so many different levels of terrible things that someone can do to you. If they cross a certain line, it can and sometimes has to be forever. As someone who has been hurt many times by many people, there are people I will never forgive in my life. Very few for that matter, but they exist. Someone must earn forgiveness, and if you don't believe they are worthy of it, then you do not have to forgive them. It's up to you, and whatever you do is the right decision for you. My brother raped me. He could crawl 500 miles on his knees to my door to beg forgiveness, and I would still slam the door on his face and call the cops. I think forgiving helps you let go and move on, but that doesn't mean that you have to trust them or let the person back in your life. Forgive, but learn your lessons. I think it really depends on what they did, but for me, Forgiveness doesn't mean letting them back in your life. You can forgive them and move on. A lot of the time it is very freeing to forgive and move forward in your life without them. Never. When you have wronged someone, and you realize you have wronged someone, the reward is not forgiveness, but growth. I think it depends on what they did. Generally speaking, I won't hold it against someone for refusing to forgive someone for just about anything. But if it's something small and minor and not part of a trend of dozens of such things, not forgiving someone for it can be pretty childish. Small and minor is a bit up for interpretation, but I'll say I mean something that's mildly inconveniencing and won't have any real impact a day later. If they've done something bad enough. Usually I'm an extremely laid back person and can't let most things slide. But 2 years ago I had a bleed whilst pregnant. Went to the hospital and unfortunately the baby had passed. Had to come home from hospital with the 16-week baby still in my tummy and go and be induced 2 days later. My partner at the time decided when got home the best thing to do was to completely smash the house up. I was locked in the bathroom with the children and the dead baby in my belly whilst he's banging on his door screaming, "You wanted me to get like this, didn't you? Why are you ringing the police? Why are you doing this to me?" It didn't feel real and I didn't know how somebody could treat you so badly on what was such a tragic day anyway. He's done a lot of growing up. About time. He's mid-30s. In the past couple of years and seems happy with his new girlfriend and is slowly building a relationship with our son again. But how can you ever forgive somebody for that? I tolerate his existence but he'll never be forgiven. Despite him begging me to. I feel peacefully in control of it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.